I just really needed to get this out for the people that I call friends out there. The fact of the matter is that Johnny Depp himself is nothing but a monster. He's a damaged monster. Admittedly, he comes from an exceedingly damaged background. And the poor man wouldn't know how to be normal if his life depended on it. Meanwhile, he has carefully constructed through the years uh, a lifestyle for himself and a support network according to his condition. This is somebody who was so above the rules. He didn't have to finish high school like the rest of us. No, no, no. He went and joined a band instead. There are many things that he admitted that he did that were extraordinary because he ran his life. He makes the rules. You are merely an appendage of his life. Meanwhile, he went on, he was reasonably good looking, became an actor, he did this, that, and the other thing, but I think he picked her specifically because she has these, when she was an actress before she knew him, and she was well known for looking terrified, and that turns him on. I believe he targeted her and chose her for that reason, because he likes that. That stuff turns him on. Meanwhile, Ellen Barkin recalls Johnny Depp as jealous and controlling. I wanted to show you guys this because my opinion is very much the same. And it blows my mind that people don't get it. That if you think that he's innocent, it's because he's guilty, And I don't see how they don't see it. It's just because I went through the same exact relationship. And so, I mean, the way that he just so slowly talked and didn't answer the questions that they were asking and went all around the bushes, and yet his attorney is so aggressive, interrupting her through every sentence. And so anyway, Amber Heard and Johnny Depp are back in court, another installment in the heated legal volley that began in 2016. This time around, the catalyzing issue is an op-ed Heard wrote for Washington Post in 2018, identifying herself as a survivor of sexual violence whose career suffered when she named a powerful man in Hollywood as her abuser. We all know how nudge it is there. And she did, they both admit that there was domestic violence. That's why I really don't understand the libel or the defamation situation. You know darn well you were in a domestic violence situation, and everyone has a right to what their opinion of what their experience was. This is someone trying to literally have a gag order or trying to charge someone money for speaking their truth. That's not okay. And quite frankly, he's the one who caused her massive suffering. She'll never, ever be the same because of how he has just violated. Remember, he was almost 50 and she had just turned 25, I believe it was. She was less than half of his age, but this sophisticated, and that's why he chose someone so young. He picked his victim. They do. They often target their victims. But what really got me is I want to get over here where they, one fellow was saying something that really got to me is when he was saying, because people have definitely seen it happen. Do you understand? I have film. I've seen and heard. I know people who've worked for him, and it would shock you. It's like they're in a cult. It's like you're like, oh, he's so wonderful. This one lady was so into Johnny Depp that she literally neglected her kids, and they were at my house constantly. So I do know a little bit of what goes on, and they'll lie, cheat, and steal for him. Don't you think any other thing? And they're all on drugs and alcohol. Don't you buy it that place is a big old convent. And how would you like to have to live in that atmosphere where you constantly got people coming and going, and they're addicting your dad to drugs and, all of this stuff? She was 25 years old. That woman was a child. And this was all going on around, and we had all these staff members, and, everyone agrees that they had domestic violence. That should be the end of it right there. But his guilty conscience, and he has to destroy her. Narcissists don't let you just go. That's why he sued her to the tune of what she ain't got. He made sure that he sued her for times over what she has so that she would be holding for the rest of her life. And that's how they want you, I'll tell you. But anyway, it blows my mind because this one guy over here was talking about how he can't understand how nobody is paying any attention to this, or even believe it. Just Johnny Depp is so obviously a monster. He's I mean, there aren't words bad enough for me to explain what I know about this person. According to her, Depp routinely became explosively angry. Oh, yes, he did. And physically violent throughout their relationship. And yes, I was in the same type of relationship. And so I can tell you, 1 minute everything's fine. And you can say, oh, you have something on your lip. And they take it personal. I mean, the weirdest things. And they get butt hurt. And the next thing you know, they're killing the TV. I couldn't even believe. It's funny. One time I was I don't even want to go into that right now. I want to finish this. But yeah, So anyway. And you end up looking guilty. The one who has been so gaslit and tortured, tormented. You've been deprived of sleep. You've been humiliated. You've been insulted. You've been bedraggled. You feel ganged up on because they turn everyone against you. That's their biggest thing, is they always have this big team. Oh my gosh. They're constantly networking and pitting people against each other and creating little teams and whatnot. And so you start becoming this big old crab apple. I mean, you wouldn't even believe it. I have my own experience, not only with being the crab apple, but with observing other crab apples, where you're like, what is her problem? And then you find out. And it's just really, really sad. But anyway, it says that particularly when substances were involved, and he openly admitted, he tried. The funny thing is he kept waffling on the truth. But I wouldn't want to be with somebody who's constantly passed out and filthy and stinky and nasty, and this old man who, he got mad that she called her an old man. But you're 50 years old. You're not being fun. You're being all drunk and tired and gross and nasty, and you are going to have to say what's on your mind. And the thing is people don't understand. They expect you to take all this and not fight back. That blew my mind. They're like, well, did you hear the things that she said to him? And oh my gosh, you should have seen. I did. I tortured my ex. I saw his ex-wife that he had destroyed because she was fat and horrible when she left. And she got young and thin. And I saw how he was treating me. And I found a lot of evidence to prove that she was a lovely woman. If anything, my counterpart. And I started getting on him for how he treated her. And I told him, I saw Julie. And you know what? You would kill yourself if you saw how beautiful she is without your constant abuse, And I mean, when I heard myself, I sounded absolutely horrible. You almost have to be a narcissist to deal with a narcissist. And the fact of the matter is, he was a monster, but I can't even tell you how much I can relate. The one where you saw him in the kitchen with the slamming and the stuff. Oh my gosh, that happened with my ex at least 3-4 times a week. And it would never be my fault. I'd be like, what did I do? It's not you, and you're like, okay, well then who is it? And the fact of the matter is, a lot of it was silly things like, he felt underweight, or he was tired of his diet, the diabetes, he'd say it was blood sugar, but he'd refuse to eat and try to live off of root beer, and you wouldn't believe, I will go into my story another time, but anyway, right here, it's kind of funny because it says that, he did, get very, very, she subjected her to excessive emotional, verbal, and physical abuse, as well as angry, hostile, humiliating, and threatening assaults. Oh yes, I lived through all of that. And mine was this tiny little 5'5", 55-year-old little man who weighed exactly $155. It was hilarious. Wait till you hear some of the stuff. It's just the reason I seem so uptight is you wouldn't believe the massive abuse being heaped on this woman's head by his gaslit flying monkeys who know not a thing about it because they haven't gone through this stuff. They don't know anything about it, and yet people are just willing to throw a rock. But that's okay. #karma. Heard said that she had photos and videos to support her statements, and he did catch her trying to get a little bit of evidence. And actually, like in my case, I started recording him because I wanted him to see. They act like they pretend they don't remember. Sometimes they don't because of alcohol or whatever. And so you film them saying, this is what you said, this is what you did. And hopefully you guys can, and then also for your own sake, because you're just like, I need to see where that went nuts. What the heck, and maybe I can get some clues if I replay, because you're in the moment of them just yelling everything from you're a slut to what. And, I didn't even leave the house, and in her case too, it was a very overblown, awful situation. And so you're like, this is how you sounded, So he started recording her. He'd gaslight her, talk all kinds of crap to her. And what are you supposed to do? Not say insulting things back? So then as soon as she'd come back, and it'd be like a tenth of what he had just said, but he's recording it and highly editing. Remember, this guy is Hollywood, okay? Oh my gosh. And remember, she's half his age, so she's not as sophisticated. And so it is just so hurtful to me to see so many people. But then what do I expect from a country that has so many Democrats in it? That should say everything right there. It just blew my mind, I gotta tell you. She's got witnesses, but the fact of the matter is, this appears to be a very kangaroo court anyway. That judge, I don't trust that judge one bit. I must say that I'm very good at judging character. And quite frankly, I never have been a Johnny Depp fan. In fact, it was DeLuise that I thought was adorable. But you'll notice Depp took that whole thing over. Whenever you see a thumbnail of it, it's him and him alone. Like he carried the show. Not in my opinion. I just never was into him. He's too obvious. Shallow to me. Anyway, so they say that she had this footage, and there was text messages coming out, and his assistant was apologizing for him kicking her. And they kick you. I don't know what that is, but narcissists love to kick. And it could have to do with dehumanization, because they're very into humiliation, dehumanization, because the fact is that they don't like themselves. They have to tear you down to build themselves up. And this is a guy who, despite all his stuff, has a very bad self-esteem. The fact is, he's quite possessed. He's openly admitted that he has a spirit in him. He even mentions it, like, I don't like to watch that guy on the stage. I don't like to watch the movies, because he says that's a different person. And the fact is, he is actually possessed. If you guys ever want to look up Devil's Gate Diva on Facebook, it'll explain it. Jack Parsons, Aleister Crowley, and L. Ron Hubbard opened a portal to hell in Devil's Gate Dam in the Arroyo Seco Parkway. It's also called Hahamonga Watershed. Anyway, Devil's Gate Dam, if you want to look it up. Meanwhile, that was in Tokyo Island, and many times before. He's kicked her, hit her, hurt her, all of these things. And also, she said, look, I don't even want support. That's when you are a narcissistic abuse victim, you just want to get out with your head. You want to get out with your life. And I didn't want spousal support either. In fact, the only thing I wanted was to have 3 months to get myself together, because the police had him go to his mom's house. And so that I could, go get a place and do my stuff. I was thoroughly unemployed. He cut me off from everything. That's what they do. They don't want you to work. They don't want you to have anything. They want you to be completely dependent upon them and their whim. And so, but I was given exactly a week. It was amazing. I was told that if I took back the protective order, that I could have 30 days. And I was like, are you crazy? So, but I ended up having to be homeless for literally 2 years just to get away from him, and became a caregiver for a Navy vet. And so he became too intimidated to find out in the security building where I'm at. So I was able to get my divorce, but I'm still having issues, because they can't live with you in the world unless you're destroyed, unless you're under their thumb. It's sick, it's sad, it's disgusting. Anyway, this fellow here, he goes, and it's kind of a trip, because this one fellow, I guess his name is, he's a photographer, writer, Io Tillett Wright, came out with an emphatic defense. He wrote in a lengthy Twitter thread, I've had enough. I saw the bruises many times, and the fat lip, and the cut head. I'm really upset that he's not able to go testify. Further, Tillett Wright said that he'd experienced and witnessed Depp's rage firsthand, asking how much evidence does a woman need to present. She has photos, texts, witnesses, and filed a restraining order. And regarding the photos, oh boy. So yeah, it blows my mind that anybody would be fooled by this guy. I don't see it. I don't see how they're fooled by him even one bit. But what I find further concerning is how vilified and the violence and the anger and the vitriol that's pointed at Amber. But you know what? There's a part of me that just says this is going to make her so strong. This is good for her, in my opinion, because I don't think she'll ever have to go through anything like this again. And I'm going to see to it myself that we all tell her story. She'll get out books, go on speaking circuits, and quite frankly, I intend for her to be far more popular, of more good to the earth, that's for sure. I intend to see her fame exponential over his tacky little movies. I never admired his stuff. What do I care about some stupid pirate? I don't get any of that. There's never been anything to admire, in my opinion. He's always looked unshowered, unshaven. To me, he looks unclean. He looks like the unwashed, and I'm just not interested in somebody like him. And the thing is I just saw enough of him on other things that I knew I don't like this person. I wouldn't like this person. And like I said, that woman who worked for him, the way she acted about him, I just like, is he a sorcerer or what? It's nasty. I'm not in. Ugh. I'm literally stuttering. If you people knew how articulate I ordinarily am, you'd know how beside myself I am. That even my friends, people that are my friends, are wishing her bad. And that, oh, the Lord, we need to pray for this earth in Jesus' name.